Okay, I've got everything set up and ready to go. For each jar, I'm going to add 1/2 a teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon minced garlic, 1/4 a teaspoon of cumin, 1/2 a teaspoon of chili powder, 1/2 a teaspoon of minced onion, and I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of ranch mix. Now that's an additional thing. You don't have to put it in there, but I really like using ranch seasoning in anything that's chili related. That was actually usually my secret chili ingredient, but let me get this adjusted. Hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing over here. Now what I don't have written down is 1 cup per jar of the tomato sauce. That's also going to go in there. I'm going to start off by putting the beans in. Get a 1/2 cup here for each jar. I'll go ahead and add the tomato sauce. It's just a rough cup. I'm not getting this exact. Now whatever's left to fill up, if it needs any more liquid, I'll top it off with water. Alright, now hang on just a second. Okay, had to move things around just a little bit. Now I'm going to get the 1/2 teaspoon of the chili powder, and then a 1/2 teaspoon of the minced onion. These are dried onions. Now I don't keep my measurements exact because in most things I use heaping teaspoons, so you can do it exactly if you want to. I have the 1 teaspoon of the ranch mix. Okay, and the 1/4 a teaspoon of cumin. Okay, at this point, I can go ahead and top this off with the water. Let's see, where did my 1/2 teaspoon go? Here it is. I forgot. I need to put the canning salt in here too. Now that I do try to make sure that it's exact, because you don't want too much salt. Now you want to get this up to the 1-inch headspace, which is that bottom ring usually. Every can I've ever seen. Sorry, that kid's popping. That's really loud. It's that bottom ring. Alright. You want to go ahead and debubble, which is basically you just stir up your beans when you're doing it like this. Just to make sure there's not bubbles in there. It also helps kind of stir up the seasoning. I'm going to wipe the rim with the vinegar. Now this, I'm canning everything cold today, so I don't have my canner over here heating up yet. Everything that's going in there is cold, so the canner needs to be cold as well as the water that's in the canner. Get our lid on here. Get it sealed up. Okay. That's what it looks like. Okay. I got the garlic out now. You can see that over there. When I come up with recipes like this, sometimes I forget to write an ingredient down, even though I know in my own head that that belongs in there. Everyone else doesn't know that. So, anyway, now I continue with the correct recipe. Okay. Adding our 1/2 cup of beans. Our not quite a cup of tomato sauce. Our 1/4 a teaspoon of cumin. The teaspoon of ranch seasoning. I have my 1/2 a teaspoon of chili powder, and our half teaspoon of minced onion. Then I have the half teaspoon of garlic. I am going to find another measuring spoon, that way I can keep the dry and the wet separate, but I'll be back in just a second. Okay, I found another one. I don't like dipping anything that's wet into my seasoning. I'm just topping this off with water, spring water, up to the inch. Giving it a good stir. Get over half a teaspoon of salt in here. Get this rim cleaned off. And cap it. All right, looks nice and pretty. Now I'm going to go ahead and finish all of these kidney beans, and then I'll start on the black beans. Okay, now we are moving on to the black beans. The black bean is going to be the same exact process. You still use a half a cup of black beans for the pint. If you're using quarts, you're going to need a cup. But these are dry beans that haven't been soaked. It would be different if you soaked them. Adding my half teaspoon of garlic here. A teaspoon of ranch. 1/4 a teaspoon of cumin. My half a teaspoon of canning salt. Half teaspoon of chili powder, half teaspoon of dried minced garlic, and then a helping of tomato sauce. It's not exactly a full cup that I'm getting out of here every time. And then I'm topping this off with bottled water. This is spring water. Now, if you happen to see, hang on just a second, I need a plastic spoon. If you happen to see beans floating, that doesn't guarantee that they're bad, but most canners would pull those beans out of there. So, at least that's what I do. Alright, now debubble it by stirring it up really good. Go along that whole bottom and make sure there's not some beans stuck there that's creating an air pocket. That does happen sometimes. This jar is filled to 1 inch headspace. Clean the rim. I use vinegar. Get the lid on it. Just finger tight. And then that's going to go on the second level on the canner. Okay, sorry about that. Anyway, I have the canner full. Remember, this was a cold canner, so I'm starting it out a little bit slow and letting it come up to temp. And then once it gets decently warm, I'll turn it on high. I'll get the lid on and let it steam for 10 minutes. And once I get that going for 10 minutes, I'll put the weight on it, and then I'll get it up to 10 pounds of pressure for my area, and it will process for 1 hour and 15 minutes. Okay, I'm going to start pulling these out of here. A lot of these have already started sealing. You hear that pop? Still very bubbly. Sometimes stuff with tomato in it looks a little funky at first. Just give it time to settle. And there's another one. After it cools off, it usually looks perfectly normal. Like the chili looked a little unattractive yesterday after it was finished, but this is after it sat overnight. See, that's the chili that I did yesterday. Now it looks just fine. It looks really good. So don't be discouraged by some separation sometimes or something like that, because it usually looks just fine after it cools off and all the boiling stops. I'm going to go ahead and get all of these out of here. Like, I've got one layer that's black beans, and the bottom layer is the kidney beans. So I'll get all the black beans out, and then I'll show you the kidney beans. Okay, I've gotten down to the first layer. Try not to let these drip everywhere. And that is the kidney bean. It's a much larger bean when it's canned. They all turned out really nice. I'm going to go ahead and finish getting this all pulled out of here. And then I'm going to sit down and relax for a little bit. And I will see you guys soon. I hope you enjoyed this video. I keep getting distracted by my son because I have to constantly see what he's doing in there. But I will see you very soon. I have a few more videos planned this week. But anyways, if you have any questions, feel free to comment below. I'm always here for you guys. And it's not going to bother me at all. But I love you all. Bye-bye.